got a phone call from a manager of a strip club. A precious girl who we'd chatted over cupcakes with for the past year was poisoned by her pimp. She had liver, kidney, and heart failure. And she told the doctors, "Just let me die." In 42 years, she couldn't bear the thought of living another day. I was asked to visit her in the hospital, and it honestly took everything within me that day to walk into that room. I sat next to her, holding her hand as she relived the nightmare, speaking slowly, stopping often, gasps of air. I massaged her hands and feet and gave her a facial. And she said for the first time in 62 days, she almost felt like smiling. And that this was one of her favorite days in the hospital. For 4 months, myself and our Cupcake Girls team got the privilege of helping take care of her. We went into a manager of a strip club's home and bathed her, fed her, brushed her hair, and cared for her. In her moments of hopelessness and loneliness, we comforted her. And before our eyes, we watched her gain strength she thought she never would. I heard from her a few months ago. She actually butt dialed me. But when she heard my voice on the other line, she immediately started sobbing. "You saved my life," she said. "You gave me a reason to live. I was in a horrible relationship and a job I should have left years ago. But you got in the trenches with me. Never discredit the work that you do. Your love has changed my life, and I wouldn't be alive today without you." That story and many like it are why I am incredibly passionate about empowering women in the adult entertainment industry. You may be asking, but why do you do this? Are you an ex-stripper? And you may be thinking, with that hair, she is totally an ex-stripper. But guess what? Before moving to Las Vegas almost 3 years ago, I had never visited a strip club or a brothel in my life. For our 4-year anniversary, my husband and I visited Las Vegas, and something in our hearts changed. When we heard about the sex industry and the issues of sex trafficking, as many of you may be hearing it now for the first time, we felt a need to make a difference. We have this little problem. You see, it seems that every place we vacation in, we end up moving there. So a few years ago, vacationed in Los Angeles, moved there, and then Las Vegas, and moved here. So the trend continued, and we packed up our little Jetta with a small amount of items we didn't sell and headed west. We drove into Las Vegas on January 1st of 2010 and began a journey like no other. For 4 months, we stayed in a wonderful couple's home. Our room was 10 feet by 10 feet, and we slept on a double leaky air mattress. Now you can imagine how much sleep we got during those 4 months, because my husband is 6'6", and our little 7-pound puppy was sleeping in between us. We also ate more ramen noodles during that time than one should in a lifetime, I'm sure of it. But the overwhelming sense of need for women in the adult industry was evident to me 3 days after we got into town, when I found myself at the largest porn convention in the world, doing hair and makeup for prostitutes, porn stars, and strippers. With every lash application and makeup touch-up, I heard another story. And their stories resonated with my heart in a way I can never explain. For the first time in my life, I realized that women I thought I had nothing in common with were actually very much like me. We all have ambitions, dreams, goals, and a desire to be deeply loved. That same weekend, I walked into a strip club for the very first time with a hot pink box of cupcakes. We walked into a dim-lit, C-rated strip club. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the strip club industry, they're actually rated A, B, and C. A strip clubs being the more glamorous, bright light, and 200 to 400 girls a night that dance there. And C being much less glamorous, much less light, and around 5 to 10 girls a night that dance there. So we walked in, and there were 7 scantily dressed women sitting around waiting for business, whose eyes lit up when they saw our hot pink box. We sat and chatted over cupcakes, and each girl had a story to tell. Now, you'd think that I'd feel a little bit awkward, being that this was my first experience in a strip club. You'd think I maybe feel out of place, and maybe like I needed a shower after leaving, since this was very different than my norm of my hometown in Michigan. But the only thing I felt was an overwhelming sense of love for the women whose stories I heard, and a deep desire to want to go back. For the past 2 years, we've run an organization called the Cupcake Girls, an organization that supports women in the adult entertainment industry, an industry I once knew nothing about. And now, I know way more than I would ever want to. Every day, myself and our Cupcake Girls team are committed to offering non-judgmental support, consistent caring, and messages of faith, hope, and love to women working in the adult industry. Our goal is that women who doubt themselves will become more empowered in their daily lives, and it all begins with a cupcake. Now, you may be asking, but why women in the adult industry? Why do they need support? We get asked all the time, why do you help strippers? They make tons of money. According to ED Publications, an industry publication, there are over 500,000 men and women employed by strip clubs in the U.S. A large percentage are here in Las Vegas. In my experience, many women in the adult industry need a safer place to live. We have moved several women out of unsafe living conditions, whether being followed home from a strip club, being broken into, or breaking up with an abusive boyfriend, that I'm guessing we could probably have our own moving company. Many women in the adult industry have been sexually abused. I know this subject is a sensitive one, but I can't count the number of women we've assisted with sexual trauma. It is a real issue with the women we face, and we face it with them way more often than we'd like. Many women in the adult industry need medical and dental assistance. We partner with physicians and dentists all over Las Vegas to assist women with urgent medical needs. We've assisted women with broken feet still dancing in the strip club, or dental abscesses in their mouth after not seeing a dentist for 7 years. We get so many medical and dental needs that we literally cannot help them all. In my experience, many women in the adult industry need peer support. Just last week, after bringing Thanksgiving dinner to one of our strip clubs, a girl walked in and looked at the table of food that was before her, looked back at us, and tears started welling up in her eyes. "This is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for me," she said. "Seriously, I won't have a Thanksgiving other than this. I'm so happy. I'm sad." We love being able to assist entertainers with community through holiday celebrations, one-on-one mentoring, and special spa events where we pamper and love these precious women. In my experience, many women need legal support. We partner with lawyers on a weekly basis who assist women with record expungements, tickets, warrants, divorce, custody cases, and many other legal needs. Many women in the adult industry need alcohol and drug treatment. Just last week at 4:30 in the morning, our team drove a girl to a rehab facility where she began to detox from heroin. We have several girls in NA and AA, and we love sitting next to them as they make that step towards sobriety. I will never forget an 18-year-old girl who called us from the hospital after ODing on heroin. Her boyfriend shot her arm up with black tar heroin, which added to the high she was already on, and put her into cardiac arrest. So he dropped her off at the door of a hospital and drove away. When she called us, she had no one. And when we visited her later that day, she was grateful to be alive, but upon leaving the hospital, owned one bag of items to her name. A few days later, we held her hand as we walked into a transitional living facility as she cried happy tears in hopes of starting a new life. I don't share these stories so that you pity these women. And as an organization, they are not our charity cases. But we have heard firsthand that many of these needs ring true in the women's lives, and we are working very hard at supporting them. I'm actually 5 months pregnant with my own little girl. And already I have this overwhelming desire to love, protect, and nurture my little girl. And it seems like I've had a lot of practice doing that over the last 2 years. At times, I've been coined the stripper whisperer. It is pretty funny. But I can't help but feel that a part of my heart belongs to these women, and that is why my life is so dedicated to this work. I don't want to sugarcoat it or act like this work is easy. I can't tell you the amount of times my husband has walked in the door to see me in the corner, sobbing my eyes out after hearing an unbearable story that broke my heart. I thought I knew what a broken heart felt like before moving to Las Vegas. Let me tell you, I had no idea. I got a phone call 2 years ago from a girl after a girl committed suicide from her girlfriends, trying to make sense of it, knowing that the 8-year-old daughter she left behind will be trying to make sense of it her entire life. I've heard fear and anger on the other line as a girl relives a domestic violence situation, and then held her as my husband changed her locks to keep her and her unborn baby safe. I've laid in the hospital next to girls, in a psych ward and a hospital, after their lives were almost overtaken by drugs. I've talked through the county glass jail with girls talking about second chances. Nothing could have prepared me for this. Now you may be asking, but what can I do? As a TEDx audience, I believe that many of you are innovative people that look at the world differently. Maybe this is the first chance you've taken to think of the lives of sex workers. Wherever you're at on this topic, can I get really real with you for a moment? As if I haven't already, right? I've heard stories from these women that they feel like criminals or the worst of the worst outcasts in society. These women are mothers, sisters, daughters, and most importantly, they are valuable women. They are some of the most tenacious, courageous, kind-hearted women that I have ever met. And I am inspired and challenged by them daily. I haven't told you this yet, but I am a 26-year-old hairstylist. I don't have a PhD or a master's in social work. I take every day one step at a time. My husband and I call this move to Las Vegas our beautiful disaster. What I mean by that is that in the midst of leaving everything behind, living off nothing, and starting a nonprofit, We found this beauty in restoration, this beauty of empowerment, this beauty of love, support, and the occasional cupcake. My hope is that together we can work towards understanding that everyone has a story and we all deserve to be loved and valued equally. Thank you.